I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. At the Bold Business Podcast, we are normalizing important conversations. Yes, there are tips. Yes, there are ways to solve problems. More importantly, are going to be, what do you need for yourself to be able to solve those problems and make the most of the education, the training, and the programs that you are already using. This is a supplement to that. It can sit on top of it, fuel your soul, fuel your mind, and most importantly, regardless of where you're at on your journey, maybe you're starting out, maybe you're ready to scale, maybe you're going through reinvention. The conversations we are having will help you at each of those stages. So hang around, see what's going on, and I look forward to seeing you engaging with our videos. Keeping the pulse on competitive advantage is so multifaceted. We're only covering a few elements and ways to think about it in regards to our growth strategy. And this is just the beginning, because one of the things that I have found is that the more we practice strategic thinking, the more we make space for the thinking that we must do to know where we're going and to survive into that future, to stay relevant, always has to be part of what we're doing. But just like anything, we might feel like we're not doing it well. So let's add the word yet to that. I'm not doing it well yet. Or this is still new to me and I'm glad to be building this muscle, this strategic thinking, this competitive advantage, processing to ensure that we are relevant now and in the future. That's growth strategy, and that's the work, that's the effort that must go into that growth strategy. I'm not sure if you know this, but the worries that business owners are facing today are the same ones that have been around for over a decade. I can't believe it. I said that 5 years ago. So it's actually so much more than a decade where we're still looking at the same things that really impact our ability to be competitive, to stay relevant, that influence and directly contribute to the success of our growth strategy. And the first one is development. Development of you, me, the people in your organization, how things go, what are we keeping track of? And it's really interesting because we hear more about purpose. We hear more about what our own goals are and how we bring that into our organization. And sometimes that's different and difficult for CEOs and business owners, because we are not the business. Our purpose is not the business, even if we're leading the business, even if we've started the business or own the business right now. And I think that's an important thing that we forget to understand. Who are we and who is the business? Or who are we and what is the business? Because that is a muscle of distinction that allows you to reduce the chances of burnout, that allows you to be more open and aware of the ideas and the thoughts of all of the people that are choosing to walk in and work with you in your business to serve your customers every single day. There's so much uncertainty in the world, not only because of change happening quickly, but also globally, that may impact us directly and indirectly in our business. So how does that show up to our own purpose, to the work that we're doing within our company, to the change that we want to see, to the problems that we want to solve, and to empower those working with us to also do the same? Taking time to learn that muscle is incredibly important, and it requires focus, and focus requires practice consistently. I'm not sure about you. There's so much information out there. It's easy for me to get overwhelmed every day with the amount of stuff to be looked at, to keep track of in the news, in my industry publications, whatever the case may be, right? It's coming in, it's coming in, it's coming in. And being able to distill that and knowing what is important to your business now and what is important to your business in the future and what might be interesting yet has zero impact on what you're attempting to do in your purpose and in your mission. And when we can do that, we can distill so much out that we're working with a much smaller subset of information. That smaller subset of information allows us to really prioritize what are the things that will move the needle and move our company, our objectives, and each of our individual developments forward. Being able to stay flexible is a big key to this, and that all of the skills, consistency, and I tell you what, I am horrible at learning and integrating more than one new thing at a time. Sometimes I'm horrible at just integrating one new thing, but I'm willing. And that right there takes a lot of courage. And I know you've been there too. You have a lot of courage to work on the pieces that are important. So pick one. I'm thinking about this whole program today. I'm thinking about all the things we're discussing. Pick one. One thing that you can do to make sure that you're more aware of where you're at in the world competitively as a company and what you want to be keeping the pulse on with that piece of information so that you can make change. Small incremental change is all that's necessary. Because with all that information out there, we have to zero in, and it takes time to zero in and have a single message that can be shared and understood and received not only well, but correctly in relationship to all the work that's being done around us and together within our organizations. You know, it makes me think of companies that get so stuck in something. Maybe it's processes. We're going to process everything so that we are as efficient as possible, which has a cascading effect in some cases of lack of ability to creatively problem solve, which takes away somebody's ability to be creative or feel like they can develop. It erodes some of the hard work that was put into place where those structures and those processes began. So maybe competitiveness is where are we too restrictive? Where have our constraints started to hold us back? Another place would be maybe it's all about getting the right information out of the way. How do we get the information out of the way so we have less noise with which to work? Because I'll tell you, the more things we juggle, the more confusing it is to know which is the right one to do. What is the most important? Well, when they're all important and all ideas are welcomed, or whatever subset of ideas are welcomed, they still compete for time. And that is something that we must be always cognizant of. So distill a message, understand that focus and purpose. What are we doing and how are we showing up so that we can get rid of what we don't need right now, interesting, useful, potentially trending for later, so that we can stay on track, so that we can keep our priorities in place. And the other thing too, right? The third thing. The first thing we talked about was confidence in our own leadership and the leadership of those around us. The second was staying focused amidst all the noise and continuing to prioritize well and clearly. The third one is actually getting out of your own way. I'm going to hold up the mirror first, just so you know, how do we get out of our own way? There are so many different ways to do that. And I will tell you, one of the things that I find most interesting is that it's usually some behavior that I have that precludes something. And I'll tell you, for me, what I'm noticing over the last 6 months, as I was doing a 6-month review, I look 6 months back and I go out 6 months and I look farther into the future. So my 6 months back was, I've prioritized all of the unexpected things that show up in life all around, and that has actually created a secondary detriment to our business deliverables. It's been harder for us to meet the expectations that we have set with our customers. It is harder to ensure that we are meeting our own deadlines internally for those very key important handoffs that have dates associated with them so that we can have whatever needs to be completed without anybody rushing, with everybody having the opportunity to have space, to be creative, to solve problems that come up. So when I found that reflection, I'm like, oh look, I'm in my own way. I have said through my behaviors and actions what is okay unintentionally, because life happens to all of us. And if more than one of us in an organization, especially a small organization like Red Direction, if we're competing with unexpected things, and there's more than one of us that's having expected craziness of some capacity and some level in our world, we want to be accommodating. We want to say, yes, whatever you deal with is really important. And we also want to say, yes, our work here is important. And unfortunately, I lost that balance. So there's a little self-reflection of straight up, it happens to the best of us in terms of getting in our own way. So what are we saying yes to? What are we saying no to? Where are we accidentally creating erosion? Erosion in the way we think, erosion in what we're doing, erosion in our value set, which creates confusion, which can also create a loss of trust. And also then what do we do? What is the priority? So thinking about that, and it happens in small companies, it happens in large companies. We know that to be true. Going back to what I was going to say before, so knowing that and thinking about that, this is one of those areas where maybe it's one thing. Maybe it's one thing you're going to take away, and that would be my suggestion, so that you can practice it. So something you feel that is a weakness right now, we are not good at that yet, because that's where your focus is going to lie. And the issues that you're facing on that strategic scale of what's going on and the issues that are happening in businesses are things that have been happening for over a decade. Every single time I have a conversation, I take away something that I want to share with 25 people. I know when you're listening to this podcast, you're also listening for that and will have something that you want to share. In the comments, I would like for you to engage with us. What is that thing that you want to tell 25 people from this program? Here's why it's important. It's important because, yeah, there are going to be how-tos. Yes, there are going to be steps. Yes, you're going to be like, oh, I wish I wrote that down. I wish I wasn't doing this and I could actually take action on that right now. But guess what? You're not. So engage right now, because that one thing you want to share with others will be the thing that you can figure out how to incorporate in your business, in your workflow, in your style tomorrow.